FM 96.9 The Game, the home of the Knights. WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, Orlando.
Time to put the pedal to the floor. It's loud and live and local. Oh, time for open mic.
That is correct. We are loud, live, and local on this Tuesday morning right here in Central Florida. FM 96.9 The Game, AM 740, HD radio. That's how you can hear us on terrestrial radio. You can also listen to us globally by downloading that free iHeartRadio app. Or maybe you want to listen on your smart speaker. Or maybe you want to go on social media right now and not only listen to us, but watch us. You can do that on Twitter. You can do that on Twitch. You can do that on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search for Open Mic on Demand, and we are right there. And if you don't listen to us or watch us live, you can find us on podcast. Just go to 969thegame.com/podcast. Look for Open Mic on Demand. All of our shows are right there. Welcome to Open Mic. I am Mike Bianchi, the Bulldog sports columnist of the Orlando Sentinel. As always, Adam Reardon, the deceptive intellect. He's right here in studio, as is Austin Pastolka, the man we call the Sultan of Sound.
Yeah, that's right, Mike, and I gotta tell you, I haven't done this in a while, but here it goes. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Radio Guy Austin, on TikTok at Actually Average, and follow the Stash and Beard Show on YouTube. Plug
There
City,
you
baby.
have. Go ahead and give yourself a cheap. Give yourself multiple cheap plugs.
Cheap
for that.
plug.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding.
Cheap plug.
Just keep the cash register going.
Just
ding, ding,
That's right.
ding, ding.
Constant money flow, brother, thanks to this social media gig.
By the way, if you're watching us on YouTube right now or Twitter at 96.9 The Game, you'll see that, I'm in my post-football season mode now, because what do I have on? What shirt do I have on, Adam Reardon?
He's getting the stream set up. Hold on.
What's that? Oh, NASCAR.
You got NASCAR?
I am NASCAR. That's right. We have the Daytona 500 coming up this weekend. That was quick. Usually there's like a week or two layoff between the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl of stock car racing, but not this year. NASCAR is condensing its schedule, so they're getting all the races in 1 week in Daytona. So we're going to have much NASCAR coverage coming up. In fact, Buddy Pittman, our NASCAR guru, will start joining us weekly, and that will be tomorrow. All right, we want to hear from you throughout the course of the show. Give us a call, 407-916-8255. You can tweet us at 96.9 The Game. You can also text us on our Academy Sports and Outdoors text line. That's 50857. Make an appointment if you want to try to win some cash at 7:10 a.m. and 8:10 a.m. every weekday morning right here on Open Mic, and we give you a chance to win $1,000. Guest this morning, Adam Shadoff, will join us at about 8 a.m. as he does every Tuesday. Also, the magic word. This week, the magic word will come from David Steele, Orlando Magic broadcasting legend. That will be at 8:15 this morning. As always, we like to begin every show with the Open Mic early morning inspirational quote of the day. This comes from the great Steve Martin, who once said, and I quote, "Be so good they can't ignore you," end quote. Deeper meaning?
No, I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. Look. I mean, people are going to try to, maybe discount some of the things you do, or for lack of a better term, ignore you or not pay attention to you. But if you're the best at what you do, or you're so good at it, that it'd be impossible to ignore you. You said Steve Martin came up with that?
Steve Martin. Yeah.
The comedian slash Grammy Award winning bluegrass musician?
And
won a Grammy?
author.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, he's a great banjo player, author. Back in the day, before he became a movie star, he used to, obviously he was a stand-up comic. He used to play a place in Gainesville. It was a restaurant slash, like a little supper club. Beef and Bottle. Beef and Bottle.
Beef and Bottle? That sounds like a place in Nebraska. Are you kidding me? Hey, what do you sell at the Beef and Bottle? Well, we got beefs and we got bottles. What do you want?
Anyway, that comes from the great Steve Martin. All right, I want to start with this. We're going to get to the new UCF AD hiring. We'll get to that story probably next segment or the segment after. I want to start with this story. I mean, we are still, regaling in the Tampa Bay Bucs winning the Super Bowl and all of that. But weird story yesterday. Tom Brady has apologized to Tyrann Mathieu. Is that how you say his first name? Oh, I could never say it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Honey Badger?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tyrann Mathieu, DB for the Kansas City Chiefs, former LSU DB. All right, so Brady apologized to Mathieu for losing his composure during the game. Now, if you watch the game, Brady and Mathieu were jawing back and forth during the game. They sparred a couple of times. At one point, Brady even chased down Mathieu and got in his face. But he has apologized via text message. This is according to ESPN. Brady called Mathieu, quote, the ultimate competitor in his apology text and said he knew he needed to match Mathieu's intensity. Sunday, Brady told Mathieu he'd watched him since his days at LSU, and he praised Mathieu for his heart, calling him, quote, an incredible leader, champion, and class act. All right. Mathieu explained his side of the altercation, saying in a since-deleted tweet that Brady started the verbal spat when he called Mathieu, quote, something I won't repeat, end quote. And he deleted that tweet since then. Right after the game, Tyrann Mathieu said this.
It's football. So, guys are going to, go back and forth. I think really, it was about three possessions there, well, at least 21 points, 24 points that those guys scored. They all came after penalties, right? Like third down penalties, first down penalties, us giving those guys another chance to extend their downs. And anytime you do that against any good football team or any good quarterback, they're going to make you pay for it.
Okay, so that was him after the game, all right? So nobody made a real big deal about it after the game. In fact, I was on the Tom Brady Zoom call after the game, and he didn't even get asked about it. Of course, he only took about 6 questions after the game, and then he was out of it there. So he would have been asked about it had he stayed longer on the Zoom call. But isn't this weird that Tom Brady's like, coming out, he's an incredible leader, champion, class act. Well, what's going on here? What's happening here?
I think Tom Brady said something he regrets, and the fact that Tyrann Mathieu didn't out him for saying it has Tom Brady singing his praises because Tom Brady's brand's important to him. And I won't speculate on what it is. I think he said. During the heat of the battle out there?
No. Tom Brady did not say something racist.
I didn't. That's not what I was going to say.
I don't think he did.
No.
I think we're all in agreement here that Tom Brady didn't.
Because Tom Brady's not that stupid. First of all, and I don't think Tom Brady. Obviously, I don't think Tom Brady's a racist. Nor do I think he's stupid. So what do you? So if you ask me to speculate, one, I did never once did I think that it was a racial slur.
No, but I've been around enough athletes, been involved in enough sporting events when things get heated. I've heard many times homophobic slurs be mentioned on the field in not to guys that are married and have
right.
kids, and I mean, not that they're saying that just so if I were to guess, and Tom Brady apologized for saying something. And I think that the fact that
Tom Brady didn't apologize for saying something. He apologized for just the whole verbal altercation. I don't think he apologized. In Tom Brady's apology, at least the story I'm reading, it doesn't say he apologized for calling Matthew a name. It just said Tom Brady apologized for the verbal altercation. And again,
I think Tom Brady's quite clever there, and he didn't once say, "I didn't call Tyrann Mathieu a name.
Right.
I didn't say anything to him like that."
No, he didn't. No, and that's why I think this is a weird story. And why did Tyrann Mathieu delete the tweet?
I think out of respect for the fact that these are just two guys jawing on a football field, and in the moment. And again, if I'm just piecing this together in my mind, the way it was sort of started, ended, and now we're putting the wraps on it. Is these guys are going back and forth. Brady said something he didn't like. They got after it, and then after the game was over, somebody asked Matthew about it, and he said, "Listen, I'm not going to tell you what he said, but he said something," and then left it at that. And then I don't know that he and Brady have reached out to each other. I don't know that they've discussed it, but
just via text message. I have another theory.
Yeah,
I have another theory. Again, yes, maybe there was some name calling, maybe there was some MFing and things like that. All right, maybe there was that. I don't think it was.
Matthew said he called me something though, didn't he?
Yeah, like a MFer. I don't know. Maybe something like that. All right, but I think Brady. First of all, Brady doesn't do anything that's not planned. I don't think Brady just suddenly became this emotional player on the field. I think Brady was trying to fire up his teammates during the course of that game, all right? And that was one way to do it. Go after the guy who talks the most trash and talk trash back to him. And then when it's all said and done and he accomplished what he wanted to accomplish, he goes and apologizes because, he wants to be the classy Tom Brady. Just my opinion. I think that's what happened.
I could see that. I think that the thing, though, is that Tom Brady has never really hid his emotions. He may not be the biggest trash talker in the world, but he has never been afraid to show emotion on the field. And so to finally have someone who would... Yeah,
after he throws a touchdown pass, he doesn't usually show anger.
No, he does. Remember this entire season, we've been trashing Tom Brady for the fact that he acts like a child when they're losing. Do you not remember that?
Yeah, I mean, he'll go after his own players sometimes and, and scold them. But again, I've never seen Tom Brady go after another player like he did Tyrann Mathieu during the Super Bowl. Anyway, I thought it was a weird story, and the fact that Tom Brady sends this glowing text about Tyrann Mathieu. Again, I would like to know what was said during that little verbal altercation. All right, in the wake of ESPN reporter Pedro Gomez passing away over the weekend, sad story, I have a question I want to ask. We always talk about ESPN analysts and reporters who annoy us, but here's what I want to know. Who is the most beloved ESPN personality of all time? That's next on Open Mic.
Absence makes the heart
Tom Brady.
What?
Yeah.
Oh!
Listen, I watched those yellow flags come out on Sunday night. The answer to that question is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple of ticky-tack penalties on the Kansas City Chiefs. No question about it. All right, now I'm ready for the spontaneous text question.
Spontaneous text question of the day.
All right, sad news over the weekend that, obviously everybody was talking about the Super Bowl, but Pedro Gomez, the ESPN reporter, he's been at ESPN for a long time, since the early 2000s. He passed away over the weekend. He was only 58 years old. He's known as one of the nation's foremost baseball journalists. He worked down in South Florida for a while. Not for the Miami Herald, but for the old Miami News. I think that's actually where he got his start covering baseball, at the Miami News. His parents migrated from Cuba right when Castro took over. So again, he was beloved. But would anybody disagree that Pedro Gomez was beloved at ESPN?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely wasn't one of those guys that popped up during the, hey, which one of these guys do you wish would get hit by a car?
Yeah, not in the Stephen A. Smith or when Skip Bayless was at ESPN. Not one of those guys. All right, he's one of the guys that everybody sort of genuinely liked. Pedro Gomez. All right, and that is the genesis of our spontaneous text question. Did we already do this?
Oh, sorry, I wasn't ready for a second sounder.
Well, okay, we already did the sounder. Okay. All right, so
Mike's having an interesting day. I know where Mike's going after this. Go see the neurologist. He forgot he even brought it up, and he forgot we had run the sounder once.
Mike, the Super Bowl was on Sunday. You could have slept yesterday, for crying out loud.
Hey, listen, the guy's already turned his attention to NASCAR.
That's right, baby. In honor of Pedro Gomez, who is your most beloved ESPN personality? Your most beloved ESPN personality? For me, it's easy. I mean, Lee Corso, to me, is my most beloved ESPN personality. I'm sure Dick Vitale will get a lot of mention as well.
Dickie V, baby.
Yeah, I like Dickie V, but Dickie V to me, I've ripped Dickie V in print before, and he's the sort of guy that calls you up. He's called me and left voice messages on my email. Hey, Paisano, what are you writing mean things about me in the Orlando Sentinel for? He's got the thinnest skin.
Hey, Mike Bianchi, why don't you come at me, all right? Listen, meet you in the back
I can't even get a table at this restaurant anymore, baby.
Yeah, what's that breakfast place in Sarasota he always goes to, or the fried egg or the hat, something. Anyway, so, all right, most beloved ESPN personality. Text those into 50857. Do you guys have one?
Yeah, well, for mine's a Siamese twin type thing. It was Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann when they used to host the late Sports Center together.
Oh, yeah.
And they used to call it the Big Show. And they were so great. And that was like if we talk a lot about stocks nowadays. That was at the point where ESPN started booming, and those guys were so funny and they were so great together. I enjoyed both of them very, very much. So them two guys together on what was affectionately referred to as the Big Show. I like that. Yeah.
For me, it's the guy who's on right now, Scott Van Pelt.
He's great.
Oh, he's so good.
I like him, man.
He's so good. He's intelligent. He's come. The Bad Beat segment, which is on right now, is one of the most clever segments of all time.
I got to hang out for a day with Stanford Steve.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we did a remote and Gainesville when Ryan Russillo used to work with them.
Oh, yeah. That used to be a good show. I used to like that show when Scott Van Pelt was on with those two.
Yeah, and then Stanford Steve was super nice guy, great guy. Actually, Russillo was great too. I've met some not so great guys in the media, but those guys were pretty chilled and laid back, so they were nice.
From our text line, Peter Gammons, the former baseball scribe. Stuart Scott, the late Stuart Scott, who got his TV start actually right here in Orlando, working at, was it Channel 9 or Channel 2?
I think
one of
2.
the locals. Was it Channel 2? Yeah. So keep those coming in, 50857, in honor of Pedro Gomez, your most beloved ESPN personality. All right, right around the corner, UCF has a new athletic director who will soon hire a new football coach. I wonder who that football coach will be. We'll talk about that next on Open Mic.
What does Mike Bianchi in the next commercial break
Big news broke yesterday. UCF has reportedly hired Arkansas State's Terry Mahajer as the Knights' new athletic director. Mahajer, of course, replaces the ever-popular Danny White, who is off at Tennessee now. I'm reading from Matt Murschell's story in the Orlando Sentinel right now. Mahajer returned to his alma mater of Arkansas State to lead the athletics department after a time at both Kansas and FAU. During 12 years at Arky State, he helped guide the Red Wolves to 25 conference championships in a variety of sports, including football and blah, 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 blah. All right. He spearheaded growth in the athletic department, which went from $16.28 million in total revenue in 2013 to $40.1 million in 2017-18. That's an increase of 146% during his time as an AD. His ability to raise funds has been a crucial part of his time at many of the stops during his career, including Arkansas State, where he set record-setting numbers in fundraising. All right. Mahajer was part of several coaching searches while at Arkansas State, hiring coaches such as Brian Harsin, who, of course, went to Boise State after that, Blake Anderson, and his most recent hire, Butch Jones, the failed Tennessee coach, who he hired at Arkansas State. Butch Jones doesn't really excite me as at UCF or a Butch Jones type of coach. I guess Butch Jones did have some success though. Where was he at? Cincinnati?
Oh yeah,
before
Central Michigan before that, and then Cincinnati, and then got the opportunity to coach at Tennessee, which failed.
Yeah, and he didn't fail. He wasn't awful at Tennessee, was he?
No, but listen, at the American Athletic Conference level, Butch Jones was a hell of a coach.
Yeah, he was. You're right. He was. So that's the new AD at UCF. I'm sure that'll be announced sometime today. We have a couple of questions. What do you think about the new AD hire? First of all, I don't know. Who knows? Really, when it comes right down to it, does anybody keep track of AD stats, the AD analytics? Again, he sounds like a up and coming great AD, sort of like Danny White was at Buffalo before he got to UCF. So again, if that's who UCF picked, I'm sure he's got great credentials and he'll probably be a good AD.
I just got on my way here. I stopped by the 7-Eleven to get a soda, and I did pick up a pack of the 2020-2021 Topps AD cards and stuff. So
okay,
so if I get one of his cards, I'll look at the back on the for the stats.
Yeah,
I'll trade you my Danny White hologram card for your.
Right? I mean, I had to Google even how to pronounce his name. So that shows you how much I know about him.
I was hoping to get a Scott Strickland rookie card, but I didn't get one.
Or what about the Legends card? Jeremy Foley and Frank Broyles.
Oh, my gosh. The kids can go to college after that. I've got my Blake James card, my Blake James athletic director's card. That's the one I use to make motorcycle noise in the spokes of my tires.
And what about I loved when they came out with these set football coaches who were also AD cards, like your Bill Arnspargers, guys like that. Huh? That was awesome. Yeah. All right. So here's the main question I want to ask. What is the most important skill? The most important skill that UCF's new AD, Terry Mahajer, has to have? Is it the skill of hiring a great football coach or the skill of fundraising? Because everybody makes a big deal about fundraising. And again, to me, that great fundraisers hire great football coaches. That's how they become great fundraisers. You think Danny White, who everybody, that guy was a great fundraiser. Yeah, he was a great fundraiser because his first hire was Scott Frost, who took an 0-12 program and went 12-0 in 2 years, and then the money started coming in, and then Josh Heupel comes in and gets hired, and he goes 12-0 in the regular season his first year, and the money keeps coming in, and then the pandemic struck, and boom, the money quit coming in. So if the new AD Terry Mahajer hires a great football coach, and UCF starts winning, then he'll be a great fundraiser. If he hires a bad football coach, he's going to be a bad fundraiser. It's all intertwined. Would you agree with that, Adam Reardon?
Yeah, I was kind of sitting here thinking, do we have a chicken and the egg situation here? If you fundraise really well, you got a lot of money, you can lure some pretty good coaches, maybe better than the rest of your conference, which therefore creates the football success. Or do you get lucky with that first hire? A guy that's been a career assistant, and he shows up and he's the right guy for the job, and then boom, all of a sudden, the alumni and the boosters get out their checkbooks. I mean, so here's the fact of the matter is this: you got to be good at one of them. You have to be good at one of them, because if you're bad at both, then you're really going to suffer. But you got to be good at one of them, and if you are really, really good at one of them, you have a great chance to be successful at the other one. And I don't care which one you do well first, but the one that would, I think, guarantee the other more likely is hire a great football coach, get your football program winning, and then you're almost guaranteed to be able to raise funds. Whereas if you raise funds, you still got to make sure you don't hire a weirdo who happens to have a good record somewhere else, or you don't really need to rely on luck at that point, because it's not a crapshoot.
I'll go back to Jeremy Foley. Again, Jeremy Foley, considered by many, we just talked about legendary ADs, considered by many to be one of the best ADs in history, all right? Jeremy Foley, University of Florida AD, he was there for years and years, started as a ticket taker, and made his way up through the ranks and became the AD. But when Jeremy Foley became the AD, there was a time back in the 70s and 80s, way back, Florida's athletic department was in deep debt, all right? Deep debt. It started to come out of debt during the Charlie Pell era. Charlie Pell was a football coach in the 80s who was a profound cheater. All right. He got Florida put on probation. Then they bring in Galen Hall. He got put on probation as well. And athletic department still pretty much in debt. All right. And then here comes Steve Spurrier. Bill Arnsparger, the AD, was forced to hire Steve Spurrier as the head coach because Steve Spurrier was a Gator legend. He comes in and boom, he starts winning immediately, sort of Scott Frost-like at UCF. Spurrier starts winning immediately in 1990, and his offense is unbelievable. The fun and gun, which I coined, by the way, fun and gun is unbelievable, and boom, suddenly the athletic department got out of debt. And suddenly the boosters started contributing more money. And suddenly the Gator athletic program started thriving. They started having great swim teams and great volleyball teams and great soccer teams. Hey, let's start a soccer program and let's hire Becky Burley, and boom, it immediately becomes successful. Why is that? Because Steve Spurrier brought in the cash. That's why. That's why. That's how you build a great athletic program. So, anyway. All right, go vote on all of our polls at 96.9 The Game, including the polls on UCF's AD. All right, straight ahead. Is Tom Brady already the greatest Tampa Bay Buccaneer of all time? We will discuss and debate that next on Open Mic. So I took my 3-hour nap yesterday because I stayed up all night the night before covering the Super Bowl, driving home, fighting the partiers in Tampa, the maskless partiers in Tampa. All right. Creating traffic jams by just stopping their cars in the middle of the street and getting out of their cars to dance around. I'm like, get out of the way. I need to get home. But they were having none of that, so it took me like an extra hour. Yeah. Took me an extra hour and a half to get home after trying to fight through the maskless celebrators over in Tampa. All right. So I got no sleep last night. That's why I gave myself a game ball yesterday for playing hurt, playing tired. All right. Because that's what I do. All right. And then I took my 3-hour nap. And then yesterday, because I had no food in the house, the luxury condo, I went to Publix. And every time I go to Publix, I find myself at the beer aisle, obviously, but I don't just go and pick up my Bud Light and Miller Lite. I peruse I love to just stand in front of the beer aisle and look at all the different brands of beer, the seltzers, the imports, all of that. I'll read the cartons, see how many carbs and calories each beer has in it. I love hanging out at the beer aisle in Publix. And we do have a supplemental poll on this. Is there any part of Publix that you guys like I like to go to the meat section as well and check out the beef and the steaks and all of that. Is there any section of Publix you guys really like?
Well, it's funny you mentioned the beer because I don't drink any beer. Don't like it. Never have. Never will. But what
they don't have a vodka aisle.
Yeah. They do. They have its own little separate store attached to it. I did peruse those aisles. But actually, I know exactly what I'm going for in there. But what you were saying about looking at the different
You probably go
beers,
for some. You probably go for like some expensive, like Belvedere.
No. Tito's is not expensive. Tito's.
Yeah, it is.
No. I mean, well, I guess
you need is the Smirnoff. Is all you.
Well, I mean, that's about as low as I'll go right there. You know, if it comes in a plastic bottle, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Listen,
that's definitely not my go-to.
that's
is the plastic
Unbreakable.
bottle.
What's the matter with the unbreakable plastic vodka bottle?
Because then that vodka tastes like if you burnt the plastic and then were to sip on it.
I guarantee you wouldn't even be able to tell the difference.
Somebody else told me that. We got friends who, I mean, they're I don't know if they liquor connoisseurs, but he's interested in that, like
That's
taste
a really
testing.
nice way of saying alcoholic.
No, he's got all these really expensive vodka, and he goes, I promise you
Belvedere.
this. He goes, I promise you. I mean, you say you only drink Tito's, you wouldn't be able to tell, and he swears by that. And I think, you know, by the third one, you may be right. But I do like Mike. I do like the beer section, and I love the branding and the imaging
I was gonna say the same thing.
and the marketing. Fat Tire beer and
Funky
you know,
Buddha.
you know monkey leg or whatever. I'm making stuff up now, but to me, what people find interesting, these hard seltzers now are the thing. And then there was a beer commercial during the Super Bowl for Budweiser Zero, right? Or it was like completely non-alcoholic.
Yeah, there's a real push for non-alcoholic beer right now.
Okay.
Which non-alcoholic used to have alcoholic content to it, like just a little bit, but this one says 0%.
O'Doul's was the famous.
Well, Beck's had a non-alcoholic one too. Which to me always blew my mind because I go, who really likes the taste of beer?
A beer, exactly. Why bother?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a social thing. Like my dad hasn't drank for 8 or 9 years now, but he still drinks non-alcoholic beers because he wants to feel a part of the party. He wants to, I want to crack a cold one, and it's just it's a feel thing.
Whenever I see somebody with a non-alcoholic beer, I always go, he must have had a drinking problem in his past.
Maybe. Here's a pro tip for all the college.
I had a friend that used to party really hard and used to carry around baby powder in his pocket. And I was like, oh, you're just trying to wean yourself off, huh? It's like the non-alcoholic beer for the heavy partiers. I just like to feel like I'm still part of the party. Who's got chafing?
Pro tip though, get yourself a 6-pack of O'Doul's and take out the O'Doul's and just have the 6-pack like case, whatever, and then put actual alcoholic beers in there. So when you go to a party, no one's gonna come over to you because you're the guy carrying the O'Doul's, but you got all your favorite beers right there. No one's gonna steal them. Not that we're partying now in 2021.
And we'll all assume that that's going to be our designated driver, but sadly, we're all wrong.
We're all very wrong about that.
All right, our supplemental poll is this. Bianchi loves hanging out at the Publix beer aisle, but what is your favorite part of the Publix experience? Your choices are the beer aisle. What else we have? Deli/bakery.
Deli should be on there for sure because, I get jerk turkey from Boar's Head, which is delicious. But when I'm there, I'm looking at all the other turkeys, and I'm going, how many different ways can you package turkey to get people in? There's like marsala. There's all kinds of stuff. Now I stay with what I know, but I'd like to get adventurous one day with turkey.
We also have the meat/seafood, and then we have the BOGO bins. And I'm known at my Publix, seriously, they call me the king of the BOGOs because rarely do I go to Publix. My whole cart is filled with BOGOs. Rarely do I buy anything at Publix, except for the meat, of course. That is not BOGO. In fact, they try to get you now with these buy 2, get 1 free. BOGO King doesn't play that stuff. BOGO King doesn't play that.
Yeah. Butco doesn't sound as good as BOGO. Butco.
Anyway, go vote at 96.9 The Game. All right. All right. For all of you Buccaneers historians out there, all right, we talked yesterday about whether Tom Brady has already cemented a spot in the Tampa Bay Ring of Honor, the Tampa Bay Bucs Ring of Honor. I think we all agreed yesterday when we were talking about it that he has. Did we not? After we mentioned like Paul Gruber and Mike Allstott and some of these other guys that are in the ring, John Gruden, some of these other guys that are in the Ring of Honor, wouldn't you say that Tom Brady has cemented his spot in the Ring of Honor after only one season? I do.
Yeah, I mean, is Brad Johnson in there? Maybe that should be the measuring stick. Like, hey, you won a Super Bowl there. That's nice.
Yeah, but he was like Captain Checkdown. He was again. Love Brad Johnson, but they didn't win the Super Bowl because of Brad Johnson. All right, so we agree that Tom Brady has cemented a spot in the Ring of Honor, but is Tom Brady the greatest Buccaneer of all time? And we have a poll on this as well. And here's the choices. Leroy Selman for the old school Buccaneers fans. Leroy Selman. We also have Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, and Tom Brady. All right, for the man who grew up right near Tampa Stadium on Himes Avenue, right there in Tampa, who grew up a Bucs fan, did you not, Adam Reardon?
Actually, I was a Bandits fan because back then you had Bandit ball, and they were actually winning. Ball. They were actually winning. Yeah, the Bucs were so terrible. It's like, I like the Bandits.
Who would you say is the greatest Buccaneer of all time? Did I leave anybody out? We only had 4 choices. Doug Williams, I think, would be the 5th guy.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, Levante David?
Some people would even say Mike Allstott.
Rondé Barber.
No, stop.
Rondé Barber. I think Rondé Barber's a good one, but for
John
me,
Lynch.
John Lynch.
But Sapp and Brooks were the greatest players on that defense.
Yeah. God, selfishly, I'd want to say Warren Sapp.
Oh God,
because he's a Miami Hurricane.
Oh, I hate it. You know how we say that voters who vote for the Hall of Fame and they're biased because of the personalities of some players. I am biased against Warren Sapp. Warren Sapp, again, I covered the Bucs when he was playing for the Bucs. He was the rudest, crudest, mean. He was just so nasty to the media over there. I despise Warren Sapp. He's the worst athlete I've ever covered. And again, I'm not saying I would keep him out of the Hall of Fame because of that, but it would certainly taint me voting him as the greatest Buccaneers player of all time. Can't do it. Won't do it.
So
Can't
maybe
do
Derek
it.
Brooks. Maybe, but then I think honestly, all these guys, Sapp and Derek Brooks are essentially voting, not for the same guy, human being, but for the same career. Those guys were together, for the longest time and had the great success together, built that defense together, and they kind of went hand in hand there. One guy at one level and the other guy at the next level. I think historically speaking, people will point to Selman, but to me, it's one of those two guys.
I would vote Derek Brooks.
Yeah,
I would vote Derek Brooks. Now, Leroy Selman, if he played for some pretty bad Buccaneers teams. All right, but they got better during the course of his career. But from a historical perspective, as most dominant, he was one of the most dominant defensive tackles of his era. He's the first Tampa Bay Buccaneer in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Leroy Selman is. But again, Derek Brooks, to me, he was the leader of that defense. He was one of the most dominant linebackers in the league. He was all over the field. He could run. He could cover. I would vote Derek Brooks, but I'll say this. If Brady wins another Super Bowl next year, it'll be Brady. It'll be Brady after 2 years if he wins another Super Bowl next year.
Yeah.
He's got such a great head start with that decent little career he had going on in New England. But he shows up and wins a couple of Super Bowls.
Has there ever been a player who was the greatest player of two teams? Of two different teams?
No.
I mean, LeBron James.
Right.
I mean,
No.
Are you
I'm
talking about the NFL?
NFL, yeah. Was Peyton Manning wasn't the greatest?
No.
I mean, that was John Elway.
John Elway.
Yeah. So, yeah, that would be something, huh? All right, let's pause for station identification.
WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9 The Game, the home of Orlando City Soccer Club. You feel that?
I can feel it.
We're about to blast off.
Just took it to my veins!
It's time for the blast.
That's right. It is time for the blast here on Open Mic, and we start off on YouTube's trending page where the top 5 videos are all Super Bowl related. Top 2 go The Weeknd's full Pepsi Super Bowl 55 halftime show with 16 million views. Woo, 16 million. Holy cow. Then the highlights from the Super Bowl with 7.1 million views. Then the next 3 videos are all Super Bowl commercials from the...
We didn't really talk about the Super Bowl commercials yesterday because I didn't see any of them because I was covering the game. Well, what were the best ones?
I think that the one that I pointed to yesterday that's tugs at the heartstrings is the Jeep had one talking about a little chapel in Kansas that is located directly right smack dab in the middle of the United States of America, and it's asking for all Americans to reunite. The reunited States of America. Everybody come to the middle. Come to the.
I like that.
It was it was a really good commercial, and kind of what we need at this moment. Now was that just 30 seconds of wishful thinking?
That commercial is not in the top for trending because it's been out for a couple days now. However, it does have 35 million views on YouTube right now, which is pretty incredible. The
What's
one's
trending now?
the T-Mobile Adam Levine sets up Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton commercial, and Drake from State Farm, not Jake from State Farm.
Oh yeah, that was
Drake from State Farm.
Sorry.
So that is that.
Celebrities. Trending celebrities. Check them out.
Interesting. Head on over to 969thegame.com to check out Matt Prater, former UCF kicker, take on a field goal kicking robot.
Really?
Yep. They go head-to-head in a distance competition. You got to check this out because it is truly an incredible video. Go check it out, 969thegame.com on the open mic section. Happy birthday today to Michael Jordan. Nope, not that one. Michael B. Jordan.
His commercial was great. The Alexa commercial?
Yeah.
That was
Yes.
funny. That honestly,
Michael B. Jordan setting on your Alexa.
No, well, they created the new Alexa with this, like little aesthetically
Right.
pleasing. They're like, this is the best looking thing it could possibly Alexa could be in. And then the woman goes to the window, sees Michael B. Jordan on the side of the bus, and then she starts imagining if Alexa was inside something that looked like Michael B. Jordan. She's laying in the tub with Michael B. Jordan, and she's like,
Who's Michael B. Jordan?
He's an actor.
He plays Apollo Creed Jr. What I don't know what his real.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I actually saw that, man.
Yeah,
Yes.
Creed 2.
Okay, so I'm gonna go Michael B. Jordan. I'm gonna go 30.
30. I was going 33.
It's 34 today.
Okay, all right.
So well done.
It's a great commercial, by the way. I thought it was hilarious.
Then moving on to Reddit, where trending on Reddit is the fact that Facebook will now take down posts claiming that vaccines cause autism. So more crackdown on fake news on social media sites, and it's pending the question: is that the job of a social media site, or are they stepping on our rights? And that conversation has continued over on Reddit as well, which includes a bunch of memes. As it should. That's the front page of the internet today.
That is the front page of the internet. We were just talking about LeBron James. I'm starting to get annoyed. Not at LeBron James in particular, but a lot of the NBA stars, including Giannis Antetokounmpo, LeBron James, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard. They're all jumping on this. Why are we playing an all-star game? It's just a money grab. It's just, it is just a money grab.
Hey,
it's
Mike,
just a
can I cut
What?
you off real quick?
What?
I just realized that I played the
Yeah,
blast
no,
intro
that's what I was
instead
gonna
of the
ask.
front page of the internet.
That's what I was going to ask. I went to go ask him. I was like, wait a minute. Are we doing what are we doing? The blast? I can't. Look at both of you guys today. Both of you today.
no.
You guys have brought your C game today.
Oh, no.
Day after the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow. Oh, Mike.
Listen, this show today is a perfect example of why people have asked for the day after the Super Bowl to be a holiday, so
national
nobody has
holiday.
to go to work. You know,
Right?
'Cause-
Yeah.
I mean, we're just not.
This
we're-
is 2 days after the Super Bowl, though.
No, I know,
but we
but
would be on-
you guys needed yesterday to rest. I mean, earlier
Yeah.
today, you forgot that you had already put out,
the spontaneous text question.
Yeah, well, I feel good.
Anyway.
I got one screw up in the bank. I can mess something up real
Yeah,
quick.
you got it.
So as I was saying before, Austin screwed up the Blast soundtrack and the front page of the internet soundtrack. All right, so as I was saying about LeBron James and some of these other NBA stars, James Harden, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kawhi Leonard, they're all blasting the NBA for playing the All-Star game, and they're also questioning their own union for negotiating the fact that they would play the All-Star game. All right. That's fine if you want to rip the All-Star game, all right, and rip having the All-Star game and saying we shouldn't be playing in the All-Star game and saying I'm not fired up about playing in the All-Star game. That's fine if you don't want to play in the All-Star game. But here's what I would like, all right? First of all, we've talked about this. The union negotiated it, so take it up with your union. Chris Paul is the head of the players' union, or he's the player head of the union. And Chris Paul essentially said, listen, we voted on it, guys. We voted on it. We agreed that we were going to have the All-Star game because it's extra revenue. Yes. Is it a money grab? Yes, it's extra revenue. That means it's a money grab. All right. But here's what I want. This would make me respect LeBron James and Giannis and all these other players complaining about the All-Star game. Here's what I want them to do, all right? I want them to say, you know what? We realize that the All-Star game makes the NBA a bunch of extra money, and that money is funneled into our salaries and into the salary cap and all of that, all right? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to agree to a whatever percentage pay cut. Whatever percentage pay cut that not having an All-Star game will contribute to our salaries, all right? If they do, and our contracts, If they do that and then they complain about the All-Star game, then I'll say, okay, great. You guys are putting your money where your mouth is. You're saying, listen, we realize this makes a bunch of extra money, but we're willing to take a pay cut not to have the All-Star game. Isn't that fair? Doesn't that make sense?
Well, I mean, again, that in a way makes sense. Sure.
Wouldn't that make you?
Let me ask you this:
wouldn't that make you respect the players who are complaining about the All-Star game when their own union?
because when you say we voted on it, doesn't mean everybody voted the same way. LeBron probably voted no.
No, but that's the thing about the union. There's a thing called solidarity. All right, one for all for one. That's what a union is. If your union votes on something, then by God, okay, the union voted on it. It's best for everybody. So I'm not going to be selfish. I'm gonna go along with what the union wanted. Or that's what the union's supposed to be.
Let me ask you this: would you begrudge LeBron James, who's carried this league for 17 years, if he said, I'm not going to play? I mean, yeah, we as a league and as a players union,
would I begrudge him? No, as long as he took a pay cut.
Why would he take a pay cut? It's the league is still playing in the game. He's a part of the league.
Okay, but yes, he's a part of the league.
Do guys who don't make the All-Star game, do they not have a bump in their salary because of the All-Star game?
I believe if you're not hurt, you're required to play. That's part of the CBA. That's part of the CBA that you're required to play in the All-Star game. Otherwise, if all the stars didn't play in the All-Star game, then it wouldn't be a damn All-Star game.
Well, it wouldn't be all the stars. It'd be a guy who's been in the league for 17 years carrying that league.
They call it the All-Star game. That means they want all the stars.
Vooch can play in it. Vooch can play in it.
It's not the some stars game.
Yeah, listen, Vooch can play in it. So some of the other stars can play in it. Yeah.
No. If you don't want to play in the game, if you don't want the extra revenue, then take the pay cut. That would make.
Or what if LeBron donated his whatever cut that is? What if he donated that to charity? Said, listen, I'm not playing in the game. Don't think it's right. I'm not interested in playing the game. Don't think it's safe. I'm going to take what I would have made for the All-Star game and donate it to a charity.
No, because you're taking that money out of the. First of all, he probably donated to his own foundation. All right,
which benefits many kids. And
that really benefits many kids. Which benefits many kids and also benefits his tax return. All right. So again, no, you don't take money away from your employer that's been collected.
Oh, yeah, because they don't have enough freaking money, Mike.
Okay. LeBron doesn't have enough freaking money.
Have we ever had this discussion? Have we ever had this discussion in the NFL when Tom Brady or Ben Roethlisberger or Dan Marino back in the day decided, I don't want to go to Hawaii for the Pro Bowl. I don't want to do it. No. I'm going to pass, and we ended up with who was the quarterback at David Garrard ended up in a Pro Bowl because nine guys in the AFC decided no thanks. They got all the way down to a Jacksonville Jaguar quarterbacks because these, and we've never once had this discussion.
I think Blake Bortles may have played in a Pro Bowl at one point.
Yeah, because quarterbacks go, you know what, my season's I'm really not interested in playing this All-Star game. Risking injury and all this other stuff. So if LeBron James doesn't want to play, LeBron just shouldn't play.
Well,
nobody's asked NFL quarterbacks to take pay cuts for the last 30 years because they weren't interested in playing in the Pro Bowl.
First of all, you have no idea what the collective bargaining agreement in the NFL as compared to the NBA says, because the NBA collective bargaining agreement, I believe, requires players to play in the All-Star game if they're not hurt. I don't think that the NFL, again, I'm just speculating. I'm guessing that the NFL doesn't have that same thing in their collective bargaining agreement.
I would twist my ankle on in the last 4 minutes of whatever game was the last game leading up to the All-Star game if I were LeBron James. My ankle. Got a little issue here.
Load managing the All-Star game.
That's it. Yeah.
All right, straight ahead, we're going to get into the sound off, but first we have your chance at $1,000. That is the Sound Off music. The Sound Off brought to you by our Sandals giveaway. Love is all you need here at FM 96.9 The Game. If you want to go on a 7-day, 6-night vacation in a Love Nest Butler Suite at any Sandals resort, you can enter for a chance to win the ultimate vacation in paradise for you and your love. How about that? That'd be great for Valentine's Day. You can do that at 969thegame.com/contests.
Sound off. Going into the game, what was your number one goal on the defensive side to shut Mahomes down, shut that high-powered offensive down? What was your guys' number one goal going into that game?
To shut Pat Mahomes down? I think you got the wrong guy. I had nothing to do with that. That was Todd. That was the
Ooh, man, cringeworthy moment. Byron Leftwich answering a question that definitely was not meant for the offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Man, Mike, you've been in a plethora of press conferences, and is this as bad as it gets when it comes to cringe factor?
Oh, yeah, and here's I do have some advice for young reporters, and that sounded like a young reporter, all right? You don't always have to ask a question, all right? I can't tell you how many times I've seen a young reporter in a press conference situation, and they feel like they have to ask a question, and sometimes it's a pretty stupid question. Well, that was stupid because it went to the wrong coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I'm going to defend this young reporter for a minute. A lot of times when you're covering Super Bowls, you have reporters who don't really cover the NFL. They're just there to do a sidebar, if you will, or, they're write one of these supporting stories because there's a lot of stories newspapers and other outlets write on the Super Bowl. Here's the thing. So they had these Zoom calls set up, all right? And you would go on this one website, all right, and it would tell you which players or coaches were on which podiums, all right? And they screwed it all up the other night because on Tom Brady's podium the other night was Mike Evans, all right? And so they had all the podiums screwed up. There were players and coaches who weren't where they were supposed to be according to this master website. So I'm going to give that particular reporter a free pass on this one.
Whoa.
Yeah.
To me, that makes it, that doesn't excuse him that he doesn't know that he's not looking at Todd Bowles.
Well, again, it said when you click on it, it said Todd Bowles press conference. And there's, again, I'm saying this is probably an inexperienced reporter who doesn't cover the NFL and doesn't know Todd Bowles from, Todd Rundgren, for crying out loud.
Sound off. It'll definitely motivate you. I mean, if you're a competitor and you get so close to your ultimate goal, and then you fall short, I mean, it's something that will motivate you for the rest of your career. I mean, it was a bad feeling in that locker room after the game. I mean, you don't want to have that feeling again. And so, we luckily enough we'll have a lot of the same guys back, and we'll obviously add new guys and we'll set the tone from the beginning of the year, beginning of the off season, that we have to be better. We have to be better than even we were this last year in order to go out there and win the Super Bowl.
Austin, let me set this up. Adam, that was Tom Brady talking about the.
Yeah, here's how much better I am than that previous guy. I know just by listening that that's not Tom Brady. I don't even have to see him. No.
That was Patrick Mahomes, quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, saying this loss is going to motivate me for the rest of my career. That seems pretty extreme, but, what do you think about one loss motivating you for the rest of your long, illustrious career?
Every loss motivates you for the rest of your career because these athletes hate to lose, whether it's the first game of the season. I mean, heck, these guys hate to lose in charity golf tournaments. I mean, I've been around enough of these guys that take it that serious. And then when you get to that level, and think about kind of what he missed out on. Tom Brady had 6 Super Bowls. He had 1. he could cut the gap from 6 to 2. Now you're within 4. That's pretty close. 7 to 1. Now you're 6 Super Bowls away from matching Tom Brady. Now, if you were ever going to get into the greatest of all time, and we've called him the greatest of these times, that loss right there in the Super Bowl for his legacy, for long term, who's the greatest quarterback we've ever seen? Patrick Mahomes physically may be that guy. But gosh, now that gap in between he and Tom Brady, even though he's a young guy whose team we expect to get back to this heck, he may be a hell of a lot closer to Aaron Rodgers when all is said and done.
Hey, let's not forget Tom Brady also stopped Patrick Mahomes from going to the Super Bowl 2 years ago in the AFC Championship game when the Patriots beat the Chiefs in overtime. How come that didn't motivate Patrick Mahomes for the rest of his career?
Oh, that was his first year as a starter.
Still.
Figured he was still learning the game.
They were in Kansas City.
He needs to be motivated to get his entire offensive line there in the game. That's what he needs to be motivated for.
This was a very, very talented football team last year, but we really didn't know how to win. And when you bring a winner in and he's running the ship, it makes a total difference in your locker room every time we step out on the field.
Bruce Arians, the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Mike, real quick, because we're running short on time. Listen, I know that no one is thinking about Jameis Winston anymore. I know this. But every time I hear a quote like this one where he says, we didn't know how to win, so we brought in a winner, all I can think is of Jameis Winston sitting there in New Orleans going, well, I'm a winner.
I was a winner at Florida State.
I was a winner at Florida State. Like, every single time they talk about a quarterback thing, I'm like, man, Jameis Winston is getting the short end of the stick here. But
he's really not.
Deserved.
He's not. I mean, all Bruce Arians is saying, hey, when we brought Tom Brady in, everybody started playing harder because they wanted to be up to Brady's standing. It's like I told Kravitz yesterday, and I'll use this analogy again, all right? Like Austin, all right? Austin.
Yeah.
Who are you going to work harder for, all right? Now you're the executive producer for Open Mic and Mike Bianchi, but if you were the executive producer for, like, Dan Patrick, you'd be working a hell of a lot harder than you work for me. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, probably.
Huh? Right?
Yeah, but I mean, you'd also be getting paid a hell of a lot more. I mean, so yeah, you get what you pay for.
I wasn't gonna say.
Even if he wasn't getting paid more, if Dan Patrick were hosting this show, Austin Pistolka, who's a great producer, he'd be even better because he wouldn't want to let Dan Patrick down. Yeah.
No, Mike, only you. You're the only host for me.
You're the only guy. Yeah, you only want to let me down.
That's
not
right.
Dan Patrick.
That's right. That's the only guy. Only guy I want to let down, Mike Bianchi. Sound off. That's a sound off for today.
All right, straight ahead, a story about how Urban Meyer almost ruined a kid's football career and a chance to play in the Super Bowl. I'll explain next on Open Mic. We were debating earlier about the NBA All-Star Game, and my take was, hey, if players like LeBron and James Harden and Giannis are going to complain about the All-Star Game being played and it being a money grab, then they should just take a pay cut, because the NBA All-Star Game revenue is tied to the revenue sharing in the collective bargaining agreement. As far as I can tell, Adam said, well, why don't we rip the NFL players who skipped the Pro Bowl? As far as I can tell, the NFL players just get a Pro Bowl bonus, and the Pro Bowl is not tied to the NFL's revenue sharing in the collective bargaining agreement, as far as I can tell. So that would be the difference there. One is tied to the revenue sharing and one is not. But that's not what I want to talk about right here. By the way, if you go to 969thegame.com real quick, Austin's got a blog up about Matt Prater, the former UCF kicker. Is he still with the Lions?
Yes, he is still with the Lions.
Still kicking with the Detroit Lions, one of the great NFL kickers of all time. Believe does he still hold the record for the longest field goal, 64 yards?
Yes, he does.
He does. All right, so he's kicking against a robot. And what do you have, the video of it?
Yep, I've got the video of it from Mark Rober. He created the robot, and he tested it and does all the science behind how to kick a field goal well.
Okay, so I just retweeted it with a comment, but he couldn't make the extra point on his final kick at UCF. Yeah, missed the extra point in the bowl game, in the Hawaii Bowl. Yeah, UCF's first bowl game, and he missed the extra point. Matt Prater, who goes on to become one of the great kickers in NFL history. I still think that's amazing that he missed the extra point on this final kick at UCF in their first bowl game.
I hear that fueled him for his entire career.
Yeah, motivated.
Maybe.
Him. You know what's funny though is people who say things like that. Like, I can't believe he missed the extra point. You ever seen like the regular old Joe try to kick any length field goal?
Yeah,
you know Ken Block, right? Sister Hazel's lead singer.
Yeah.
Had a chance to really get to know him a few years ago, and I just saw him on Facebook. You know, he was playing a Super Bowl pregame show at one of the practice facilities, and they had him on the indoor place. I mean, kicking what looked to be a 20-yard field goal, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm like right. His daughter is a very good soccer player, so I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, all right, he's been around soccer long enough that this guy, you know, he's been in the backyard, probably kicked the ball with both of his daughters who play, and I said he's gonna nail this. Like towed it, like like old school, was it Tom Dempsey style,
conventional style?
Yeah, and it like clangs off the upright and he misses it, and I'm going, I would have bet money like that he would have made it, because I thought he's got two kids that play soccer. He's kicked the ball 100 times in the backyard, 1,000 times. But what is funny is if you ever go to these NFL experiences or that what used to be the SEC championship game, and watching, like, I don't know how that guy missed it. It's 35 yards. How could you miss this? Guys can't hit it.
It's a chip shot.
Can't hit it from 20 yards. Can't hit it from 20 yards.
Yeah. All right, so interesting story in the Orlando Sentinel a couple days ago. You can still read it, by the way, at OrlandoSentinel.com. It was written.
Cheap plug.
Yeah, it was written by Chris Hayes, who's the recruiting analyst for the Orlando Sentinel, and he was talking about Tampa Bay Buccaneers cornerback Jamel Dean. All right, Jamel Dean used to play at Cocoa High School. All right, back in the day, and he was recruited by Ohio State. All right, when Urban Meyer was the coach at Ohio State, and he goes up to Columbus. He was one of these early enrollees. All right, he was one of these early enrollees, signed the letter of intent to play with Ohio State. So he goes up and becomes an early enrollee. Well, he injured his knee in high school, had a torn ACL his junior year, and then he had some meniscus damage. He had that the final game of his senior year of high school. So he had some meniscus damage, meniscus is sort of the cartilage in the knee. It's considered somewhat of a minor knee injury. All right, you go in, you clean up the meniscus, and you're ready to roll. Well, he shows up at Ohio State, and again, this is according to the story written by Chris Hayes, and he has meniscus damage in his knee. All right, and so Ohio State and the team doctors don't clear him to play. All right, don't clear him to play. And they're trying to get him to sign this permanent medical hardship. All right, which means he could keep his scholarship at Ohio State, but his football career would be over because they're saying he had this permanent knee injury that he couldn't play with, and he signed this permanent medical hardship, and you get to keep your scholarship, son, but your football career is over. All right, and so he said, "No, I'm not going to sign this." And his high school coach got involved. So there's a quote from his high school coach in this story from the Cocoa Beach High School coach. Quote, "It's ridiculous. It's totally wrong to do this to an 18-year-old kid who should be blah, blah, blah." Then he goes, "We got a second opinion from Dr. James Andrews." All right. Dr. Andrews said that Jamel would be ready to go in 6 months, but the Ohio State doctors would not clear him. I asked the coaches at the time, "What's going on here? Is this some sort of numbers game?" But they assured me it was not. All right, that's the quote from the high school coach. Turns out that Ohio State, they were 4 over the scholarship limit. All right. So they're trying to get this kid, evidently, to sign this permanent waiver, all right? And that way he wouldn't count against their scholarships that year, all right? So isn't that awful?
It's terrible. But I mean,
isn't that awful that you would essentially, just because you oversigned the recruiting class, you would essentially, again, if he'd have signed that waiver, he would have never played again.
You mentioned he was an early enrollee, and so back then, this is pre early signing period, right? This is pre that early signing period.
Yeah.
This is a guy who can early enroll, and then what happened is they probably got some commitments from some even bigger name prospects, and they're having to do the math, do the numbers, and to not look bad, they give this kid false medical information and false medical advice to say, "Hey, listen,
sign this waiver and you keep your scholarship.
Your scholarship. You go through college, get a good job later, but you just got to give up on your football dream now because you're not going to practice, you're not going to play, you're not going to do anything. You're just going to be a student here." The fact that they would do that to a young again. Listen, if you ever wanted to peek behind, or as Mark Daniels say, see how the sausage is made in the world of college football in situations like that, this is a perfect example. For those of us who can respect Urban Meyer, the football coach, like, hey, X's and O's, get the guys in the right position, be a CEO. Listen, being a CEO, sometimes you got to do some shady math, all right? And is he great at it? Yes. But there are reasons why anybody who's been around him or close enough to him to see sort of behind the curtain at times don't love Urban Meyer as a human being. This is a perfect example that basically, hey, who cares about this kid's future playing football? Who cares what this kid really wants? Let's lie to him about how bad his knee is and get him to sign away his ability to play football ever again. Terrible story.
If he'd have done that, the guy would not have a Super Bowl ring today. He wins a Super Bowl ring after Ohio State tried to end his career. That is one of the worst stories I've ever seen when it comes to college athletics. All right around the corner, we're going to debate with Adam Shadoff. What's the most important skill that new UCF athletics director must have? That's next on Open Mic. Welcome back to Open Mic, everybody. I'm Mike Bianchi, the Bulldog sports columnist of the Orlando Sentinel, joined as always by Adam Reardon, the deceptive intellect, and of course Austin Pastolka, the Sultan of Sound.
Yeah.
Together we are Open Mic, the troika of sports talk radio excellence in the megalopolis we know as Central Florida. Give us a call, 407-916-8255. Tweet us at 96.9 The Game or at The Game Jacks. You can also text us on our Academy Sports and Outdoors text line. That's 50857. Your next chance to win $1,000 coming up at 8:10 a.m. this morning. Do not forget to make that appointment. Radio 7:10 a.m. and 8:10 a.m. every weekday morning. We give you a chance to win $1,000. Our spontaneous text question of the day.
Spontaneous text question of the day.
In honor of beloved ESPN baseball broadcaster Pedro Gomez passing away over the weekend, who's your favorite or most beloved ESPN personality? I went with Lee Corso. Adam Reardon went with the big show of the past, Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann. And Austin Pastolka went with Brad Van Pelt.
Scott Van Pelt.
Brad Van Pelt, the ex-quarterback. Scott Van Pelt. All right. All three, all excellent choices, but we want to know what you think. You can text those in to 50857. UCF has reportedly hired a new athletic director, Arkansas State's Terry Mahajer. He is going to be the Knights' new AD, according to multiple reports, and he obviously will replace the ever-popular Danny White. So he has some big shoes to fill. We will see when that announcement is officially made. It will probably, I'm guessing, will come sometime today, and maybe they'll have a press conference tomorrow or a Zoom conference, shall I say. Again, I'm reading from Matt Marshall's story in the Orlando Sentinel, and he talks all about Mahajer's background. Again, he's an Arkansas State alum. He's been at Arkansas State for the past 12 years. He's had stops at Kansas and FAU as sort of an assistant AD, and they go. Matt goes through all of the how the revenue at Arkansas State has grown in the 12 years since he's been there. He talks about how the fundraising is breaking records. He also talks about Mahajer's past coaching hires at Arkansas State. He hired Brian Harsin, who went on to Boise State. Where'd Brian Harsin just get hired to? Tennessee, right?
Texas or Tennessee?
Texas. Yeah, Tennessee's Josh Heupel.
Wait, so how long has he been at Arkansas State?
Says I'm reading. I think he said since 2012. Since 2012, not 12 years.
So he wasn't. So was he not there? Did he not make the Gus Malzahn hire?
Do not think so.
Okay.
Do not think so. 2012. When was Gus Malzahn? When was his 1 year? Maybe he was hired after Gus Malzahn was hired.
Okay.
But yeah, I wonder if Gus Malzahn would be a candidate for UCF now that Terry Mahajer has been hired at UCF.
Yeah. It doesn't look like they're there's a reason I was asking, but I guess it doesn't look like their paths crossed potentially.
Although,
think about these two coaches. By the way, in 2011, whoever was the athletic director there at Arkansas State must have gotten a much better job, and that's how he got the job. Because in 2011, they hired Hugh Freeze. He was there for 1 year, 10-2, and then Gus Malzahn took over. He was there 1 year, 9-3, and both those guys parlayed those into some pretty good jobs.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see who Terry Mahajer hires as the football coach at UCF. I'm sure that announcement, now that they have an AD, that announcement I'm sure will be coming in a week or so, maybe. We saw how fast Tennessee did their coaching search. Hell, by this time next week, UCF may have a new football coach as well. So we'll see what happens with that. But
Hold on, who's the football coach at Arkansas State right now?
Butch Jones.
Butch Jones.
All right, Butch Jones coming to UCF.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm. Well, as Adam pointed out earlier, Butch Jones didn't have much success at Tennessee. He was mediocre there and got fired, but he was a hell of a coach in the American Athletic Conference, was he not?
Yeah, he's a great coach. I mean, heck, yeah, good enough that he got a job in the SEC.
Yeah. So, again, Butch Jones is that's the latest hire that Terry Mahajer has made. I think I'm saying his name right. Terry Mahajer made at Arkansas State. All right, let's pause right now for station identification.
WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9 The Game, the home of Orlando City Soccer Club.
Quiet on the set. Can we please have quiet on the set?
It's TV time on Open Mic.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Let's hear from Fox 35's own Adam Shadoff.
Love our segments with Adam Shadoff. You can obviously see him do the sports report on the Fox 35 Sports Zone every weeknight around 11:30 p.m. Also on the weekends as well. By the way, we screwed up all the football coaches. Auburn is where Brian Harsin is. Steve Sarkisian's the new coach at Texas. God, how did we screw that up?
It's because we didn't have a rest day after the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
That's what it was. That's what it was. All right, Adam Shadoff, how are you this morning?
I'm good, Bianchi. What's going on?
Were you at the Super Bowl?
Kind of. I'm not a big-time media celebrity like Mike Bianchi, so I didn't get...
Yeah, I was going to say, because I didn't see you in the main press box. Where were you? Mm-hmm.
I was in the media workroom in a tent directly outside of Raymond James Stadium.
Are you talking about that? Are you talking about that tent that was like, I don't know, a quarter of a mile away from the field? Is that where you were?
I mean, only the big-time media celebrities got a seat inside, and the rest of us mere mortals were outside.
Don't they know who you are?
Yeah, apparently not.
You know, next time maybe you need to put Adam Shadoff open mic correspondent on your credential.
I could have applied as a 96.9 The Game open mic correspondent Adam Shadoff instead of WOFL Fox 35 sports anchor Adam Shadoff. Probably would have done me better.
What was the media meal in the auxiliary tent there?
Barbecue brisket.
Oh, really?
What? What you had probably steak and lobster.
We had, but no, they had prime rib, lobster, macaroni, and cheese. No, I'm serious. And then they had the ravioli station, ravioli stuff with a short rib meat. Yeah, it was excellent, excellent.
Oh, great! So. Good for you, Bianchi.
And plus, were you on any of the Zoom interviews after the Super Bowl?
No, because I was going live right during that time, and then I drove home. So,
gotcha. Anyway, yeah. So that was our Super Bowl experience. I got to sit in the big box, and Adam, you know what? There was actually room in the big box for more media members, and again, it was socially distanced.
Oh my God, Bianchi. Okay.
What?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear this that they screwed up and I could have been inside.
I mean, we had the Sentinel had three writers up there.
Oh goodness! I'm aware of that. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Adam. All right, let's do a little shout off with Shadoff before Shadoff gets even madder at me. I'm sorry.
No, it's a sore
Shout it out from the rooftop.
Sorry.
What'd you say?
I said it's a sore spot. Believe me, I'm aware of all this.
Okay.
Shout it out from the rooftop. Woo-hoo! It's time for the Shadoff Shout Out.
Don't worry, Adam. I'm not shutting you out of your own segment, I promise. The Shadoff Shout Out this week brought to you by Frank Gay Services. Do you need an electrician or a plumber right now? Go to frankgayservices.com. It's the Frank Gay way. frankgayservices.com. We start off.
Hey, can we do a spontaneous poll real quick? Should Adam Shadoff have been allowed in the main box?
It's a 100% vote for yes. He
during
should
the
have
Super Bowl.
We don't even need a poll for that. I'll give you 100% right now. Kidding me? Sports anchor for Fox 35? How do you not get in there?
I agree.
Just saying. We start off with the thought-provoking daily poll. Do you like UCF's reported hire of Arkansas State's Terry Mohajir as the Knights' new athletics director? Yes or no? Mike?
Well, I've done a lot of research on AD rankings and AD analytics, all right? And from all of my vast research on Terry Mohajir, all of his statistics, all of his analytics say that, yes, I know nothing about Terry Mohajir. I didn't even know how to pronounce his last name until I went on YouTube this morning just to see how to pronounce his last name. But again, he seems to have had some success at Arkansas State, and now he's ready to take the next step to UCF. We had somebody text in earlier, well, have you ever been to Jonesboro, Arkansas? Why would you hire somebody from Jonesboro, Arkansas? That's the stupidest argument I've ever heard. Just because he was at Danny White came from the University of Buffalo, okay? Sometimes your best administrators thrive in places where you don't think they can thrive. So I'm going to go, yes, this is a good hire.
Let me go counter to what that person who called in said. Have you ever been to middle of nowhere, Arkansas? And the guy got a $29 million football facility done in middle of nowhere, Arkansas.
Yeah.
If you could do that there with that fan base, with that kind of place, imagine what he can do with an enormous alumni base and a lot more money and more interest and bigger profile at UCF. He's hired three really good football coaches also, which I think are the two most important things that he's done there. So he has done a good job in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas. He can probably do a good job at UCF.
Well, to be fair, that's not the middle of nowhere. It is where Walmart headquarters are located. So they just scooped up some Walmart couch cushion change. That's probably what paid for that facility.
73% of the vote says, yeah, we like the hire. Yeah. Supplemental poll number 1. If you could only pick one, what would you say Terry Mohajir's most important skill needs to be as the new AD at UCF? Does he need to hire a great football coach or be a great fundraiser? Adam.
That's a tough one. I'm going to go with hire a good football coach because it's a heck of a lot easier to be a great fundraiser when the football team is good, and the football team is going to be good if there's a good head football coach. So it's very close there, but I go with hire a good football coach.
Oh, I don't think it's close at all. I think you're right. Hire a good football coach. I mean, Danny White was considered a great fundraiser. Why was that? Because the football coaches he hired, Scott Frost, came in and won immediately, 12-0 in 2 years. And guess what? People started contributing more money to the UCF football program. Same with Josh Heupel. Goes unbeaten his first year, and the coffers filled up even more. So yeah, you can be, you have to have a great personality and you have to need to be able to schmooze the boosters. But if you have a bad football program, guess what? You're going to be a bad fundraiser.
This one was a landslide. 80% of the vote says hire a great football coach. Supplemental poll number 2. Has Tom Brady already secured his spot in the Tampa Bay Bucs Ring of Honor? Yes or no, Mike?
If Mike Allstott and Paul Gruber and John Gruden are in the Ring of Honor, John Gruden got in the Ring of Honor. Why? Because he took over for Tony Dungy and got to the Super Bowl in 1 year, all right? You look at John Gruden's career at Tampa Bay after that, and he was mediocre at best. And ultimately, he ended up getting fired in Tampa Bay. Yes, Tom Brady is in the Buccaneers Ring of Honor. He put that organization back on the map. He took them to the Super Bowl in 1 year. He might take them back next year. But yes, he's already in the Bucs Ring of Honor, in my opinion.
Yeah, the answer is yes. If the team has won 2 Super Bowls in history, and he's basically largely responsible for half of those Super Bowls, then yeah, you are in the Ring of Honor.
66% of the vote says yes, he deserves to be in the Ring of Honor right now. Supplemental poll number 3. Who is the greatest Tampa Bay Bucs player of all time? Is it Leroy Selman, Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, or Tom Brady? Adam.
Wow. Well, that's one I would probably need to think about a lot. But I guess off the top of my head, I mean, Leroy Selman was not only was he a great player, but a huge guy in the community. I mean, they named a freaking highway after him in Tampa. So I'm going to go with a guy like that who was not only a really good player, but huge in the community, huge in charity work, and meant a lot. Although if Tom Brady wins another one, then we're talking about Tom Brady.
I can't argue with Leroy Selman. Plus, he also had I think he still has a steakhouse at Tampa, even though he's no longer with us, right? Leroy Selman is no longer with us. So, yeah, I'm not going to argue with that, but I am going to go with Derek Brooks. Derek Brooks was the heart and soul of the Buccaneers' Super Bowl defense. He was a prototype linebacker of today because he ran so well. He covered. He never came off the field. I might have voted for Warren Sapp, but Warren Sapp is such a nasty human being, I cannot vote for him. So I'm going with Derek Brooks.
54% of the vote goes to Derek Brooks. No one else is anywhere close to him. Supplemental poll number 4. Bianchi loves hanging out at the Publix beer aisle, but what is your favorite part of Publix? The beer aisle, the deli/bakery, the meat and seafood area, or the BOGO bins? Mike, explain yourself on this one.
Well, I was at Publix yesterday afternoon, and I was just there at the beer aisle, as I do all the time, and I'm just perusing, all the beers, seeing what new beers there are. I spent like 10 minutes just looking at the beer. They do call me the BOGO King at my Publix because rarely is there anything in my shopping cart that is not BOGO. All right, so BOGO would be a close second to the beer aisle.
I'm going to go bakery because I actually had, we're big donut snobs in my household, and we like fancy donut places, but we actually had donuts from Publix recently, which I'd never had before, and they were on par with the fancy donut shop place, and everything else in Publix bakery is awesome also. So I'll go bakery.
You know what else is underrated? Publix sushi, I think, is pretty good.
It is really good. I like the sushi there, especially on Wednesdays when it's $5. Not a sponsor. 57% of the vote goes to the deli/bakery. And finally, the open mic Would You Rather poll. Which major city would you rather live in? It's East Coast versus West Coast. New York City or Los Angeles? Adam, we'll start with you.
Man, this is tough for me. I have a bunch of friends in New York. I've been to New York, I don't know, probably 30 times because I went to school up in New York State, and all my friends live in the city right now, and it's a great place. But LA, I think for me, it's easier. You get so cooped up in New York. You want to just drive somewhere. You can't drive anywhere. You can't go to the beach. It's hard to get around. LA, the traffic is a nightmare, obviously, but you can at least go and get somewhere. You can go to the beach. You can go hiking. You can go to the mountains. You can drive a few hours and go skiing. The weather is outrageously perfect. I'm going with LA.
Come on, Adam. You can go to Coney Island, take the subway to Coney Island and go to the beach in New York if you want to. My daughter is in college in New York, so I'll let her vote, and she would vote me living in L.A. since she's in college in New York, and I would rather live in L.A. anyway for all the things Adam just mentioned. Again, weather. It's I need to be in a warm climate. New York would be hard for me to live in, although I do like a little blast of winter every once in a while.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm with you.
With 55% of the vote, the Big Apple, NYC, wins this one.
There you have it. Okay. All right, Adam Shadoff, I'm going to do a favor for you, all right? Before I let you go, I'm gonna get in touch with my NFL contacts, all right? And next Super Bowl, I'm going to make sure that you're allowed in the big box, all right?
Next year's Super Bowl, I'm applying as the 96.9 game correspondent. That's what's going to happen.
We appreciate it, Adam. We'll see you on the Fox Sports Zone. Thank you.
See ya.
There you have it, Adam Shadoff. I felt bad he didn't get into the big box. Wow.
Yeah, you really showed it during that segment. You really showed how you were like, oh, wow. Adam, you were in the little tent. Oh,
the tent was like a long way away from the field, too.
Social distancing, man. It's Corona.
All right, straight ahead, it's the magic broadcaster extraordinaire David Steele will join us. I want to ask him how Coach Steve Clifford is handling this injury-riddled season. That is next, but first we have a chance at $1,000 right now.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide key
I've come here to say one magic word to you.
Say the magic word.
What is the magic word?
I wish I could play professional basketball.
But I'll just say the magic words.
Every Tuesday, we bring you an Orlando Magic personality to give you the magic word. Today, it is David Steele, and we appreciate the TV voice of the Orlando Magic joining us. You can watch David tonight, by the way, on the Fox Sports Florida broadcast of the Magic. You can also listen to the simulcast of that game right here on FM 96.9 The Game, AM 740. Tip-off is, what's tip-off tonight, David, 9:30? Do we have David?
David, are you
there? 10 o'clock. I'm here. 10 o'clock, Mike. Not 9:30, 10. 9:30, you'll be ready to go, though.
Absolutely, you'll be ready to go. By the way, before we get into some Magic talk, what about the Buccaneers and Brady winning the Super Bowl? What do you think of that?
I loved it. I couldn't stop smiling watching the game. I mean, they just had such a great plan defensively, and he executed as you knew that he would. It's just amazing, Mike. I mean, what can you say? Everything's been said about the guy, but at 43 to do what he's doing, I've never seen anything like it. I'm old enough to remember George Blanda was a quarterback that I always liked a lot as a kid growing up. He played at the University of Kentucky, and then he played in the NFL for, I think, 20, 25 years. And he was a quarterback at a pretty high level, well into his 40s, but he wasn't doing anything like what Tom Brady's doing right now.
Real quick, as a longtime Orlandoan now, are you like me? Are you jealous at all of Tampa's sports success over the last several months?
Jealous, I don't know. Envious might be a better word. I think I just think about how fun it would be to have a parade down Orange Avenue and have everybody so excited and rallying around a sports team here, which. We've seen that a couple of times, Mike. You've been here long enough to know what it's like when the Magic have, if not the best team in the NBA, one of the top 2 or 3, and you're fighting for an NBA championship. We've been there twice, and it ignites the city. It brings people together. I hope we get there one day.
Magic coming off not a good performance. Obviously, their last performance against the Bulls at home, they get blown out 119-92. They have fallen on hard times, injury issues. It looks like, though, David, obviously, Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac aren't coming back because they're out for the season, but it looks like the Magic are going to get at least relatively more healthy soon, right?
Well, it looks like Aminu is going to play tonight. Chief, as he is affectionately known, is going to be available tonight, so that helps. But, Mike, he hasn't played since November, I believe it's November 29th of 2019. So it's a 14-month deal. How effective he'll be, I don't know. And, we'll see about that. But Michael Carter-Williams is apparently on his way back as well, and Aaron Gordon still has weeks to go with a severely sprained ankle. So, you mentioned the injuries. You're without Fultz and Isaac and Aaron Gordon right now, so that's 3/5 of the starting lineup. 3, obviously, of your best players. Michael Carter-Williams is in your 8-man rotation, so that's 4 of your best 8. It's real tough. They're just trying to keep their heads above water right now and stick together and play well and just go out there and compete as best they can every night.
David, I need a little advice. All right, you know the role of a sports columnist and a sports talk radio host. When the team's not playing well, you're supposed to rip the team and say the coach needs to be fired and all of this stuff. You can't really criticize the Magic because they're so short-handed. What am I supposed to do, David?
I think you explain what's going on, Mike. I think that's where you could provide some great context. There's a pandemic. COVID is still an issue for all of the teams around the NBA. Many other teams are dealing with similar situations, and not as severely as the injury front. COVID has not been a factor for the Magic. Which, knock on wood, that could still still be an issue at some point down the road. They're on a West Coast trip right now in hotels and trying to live with the restraints of the NBA protocols. But, there are dangers out there just that are very difficult to avoid with regard to COVID. So I think it's a huge story just in sports, just how teams are dealing with what they're having to deal with right now. And on top of it, the Magic have had all of these injuries, which, you had a short training period. It's just a weird year in so many different ways.
Yeah, I mean, you look at college basketball, we're like Duke, Kansas, North Carolina, Kentucky, none of them are ranked this year. Again, how do you even judge a college basketball season? I think I read we're the 13 winningest programs in college basketball history. None of them are ranked right now. Isn't that amazing?
That's crazy. I was reading that too. Just unbelievable, that those are the blue bloods. And so, your original question was, how do you criticize? Well, it's hard to criticize this year. To me, it's hard to criticize almost any sports team that's trying to be out there and compete right now. I think you tip your hat to the ones that are successful, and you give great credit to the teams that are able to maneuver through it through either sheer luck or good planning or whatever the case may be. But it's difficult to really criticize too much right now because it's so crazy.
David, what are we seeing from Mo Bamba's development?
Well, it's kind of hard. It's hard for me to say. It's hard to say because we don't, again, here's the COVID. We're not around the team. Jeff and I and the broadcasters, we haven't spoken face-to-face to Steve Clifford or any of the players since March the 10th of last, 2020. So we're not around. It's hard for me to see. I see what happens in the games, and what I see when he gets out there is that he really competes. He looks like he's playing with a good motor, which has been the criticism for Mo since coming into the NBA. And it looks like he's developed a few skills that he needs to develop. We saw the roll game the other night against Chicago on pick and roll several times. He was able to finish and, with pretty good pressure from Chicago's defense. So, it looks like he's developing, but it's kind of hard to tell. And as Steve said the other night, it is the strongest position on the team. I mean, just look at it. Vucevic if he doesn't make the All-Star team, it's only because the team is not winning enough games to get him there, because he is an all-star player. Kem Birch is arguably one of the best backup centers in the NBA. I don't even think it's arguable. I think, there are 29 other teams that would love to have Kem as their backup center. He probably would start for a few teams as well. So that's a strong position, and they're not injured. They've played every game. So there's Mo, and he's had COVID. He's had an injury here, an injury there that has set him back. So it's hard to tell. But, these things tend to work themselves out, Mike. And so, I think that if he continues to develop and continues to show in practice the things that he can do that we've seen briefly in stints in the games, that he'll emerge at some point.
David, last question. All right, we know the injury situation. We've talked about that. But other than, get healthy, what do the Magic have to do? What players have to start improving for the Magic to get off the schneid?
Well, I think it's obvious right now. The point guard position is, it's tough right now because Fultz was really developing into a high-quality playmaker. He still had things to work on. Obviously, his shot, getting it out to three-point range, is something he'll continue to work on. But his ability to run the offense and defensively, he was very good at the point guard spot. And we're seeing Cole Anthony. He's facing Damian Lillard tonight. That's a tall challenge for a guy that he played 1 year of college, didn't have any preseason summer league. I give him a lot of credit, but that's an issue that, there's nothing you can do. I mean, he's just got to be out there and he's got to play right now. So that's where the team can improve the most. And it really just depends on how rapidly Cole Anthony can develop. And you're asking an awful lot for a guy who has tremendous talent and is going to be really good. And the numbers look good right now. He's able to do things. He's clearly a high quality NBA player. but there's so many little things that he has to learn to help his team win games that we're just going to have to be patient with that.
David Steele, you can check out his call of the game, Magic versus Blazers tonight. You can watch it on Fox Sports Florida. You can listen to it right here on FM 96.9 The Game and AM 740. David, we always appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Have a good day.
That was the magic word from David Steele. Next, we get the night word from Mark Daniels, the